everyone! Today, we're tackling a super common and often frustrating error in ASP.NET C# applications: access to the path is denied. This message usually pops up when your application tries to do something with a file or folder, like writing to a log file, uploading an image, or reading a configuration, but it doesn't have the necessary permissions. It's like your app knocking on a door that's locked, and it doesn't have the key. Don't worry, we're going to break down why this happens and give you practical steps to fix it, making sure your application can access what it needs without any more permission headaches. Let's dive into the core issue: permissions. Your ASP.NET application, especially when hosted on IIS, runs under a specific user account, often an application pool identity like IIS_IUSRS, network service, or a custom user. This account needs explicit permission to interact with the file system locations your code is trying to access. So, the very first step is to identify the user account your application pool is running under. You can find this in IIS Manager, under Application Pools, by checking the identity property of your pool. Once you know the user, you need to grant that user the correct permissions on the specific folder or file causing the problem. To do this, simply right-click the folder or file in Windows Explorer, go to Properties, then click the Security tab. Here, you can click Edit and then Add to include the identified user account. Granting modify or full control permissions is often necessary for writing operations, but always try to give the minimum required permissions for security reasons. For instance, if your app only needs to read a file, just grant read permission. Another common scenario where this error occurs is when a file is locked by another process. Even with correct permissions, if another application or even a previous instance of your own application still holds a lock on the file, access will be denied. In such cases, restarting your IIS application pool or even the entire IIS server can often release these locks. Also, double-check that the path your code is trying to access is absolutely correct. Typos in folder names or incorrect relative paths are easy mistakes to make. Using server.mappath/your folder in ASP.NET Web Applications is a robust way to get the correct physical path relative to your application's root. Sometimes, antivirus software or firewalls can also interfere with file access, so temporarily disabling them, for testing purposes only, might help diagnose the issue, though this is less common for access denied errors specifically related to permissions. For development environments, running Visual Studio as an administrator can sometimes bypass these issues, but this is not a solution for production deployments. Always implement proper error handling using try-catch blocks around file operations in your C# code. This way, if an access denied error does occur, your application can log the specific details, making debugging much easier. Remember to keep your application's writable folders separate from your application code base and grant permissions only to those specific data folders. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this guide helps you resolve those frustrating access to the path is denied errors in your ASP.NET C# applications. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment with your own tips or questions, share it with others who might benefit, and consider supporting the channel for more useful content. See you next time.